Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're actually going to do a bonus video today. You see, something special about Mathcore is that it is the longest running entry into the theme poll on Patreon. In fact, it lasted 13 weeks, and through this entire ordeal of always taking third or second place in the poll, never quite making the cut to be what we actually look at, one person, Kessler, repped this group, the Callous Daoboys. I get it now that I say it out loud. I kind of get it. Callous Daoboys. Rep this group for pretty sure every week. And I come to find out they only have 1,000 subscribers. They're a small group, and so I figured go ahead and check them out. They must be pretty good if they were pushed that hard and didn't do well in the polls at all. I think they only got like 2 or 3 votes. So we're gonna dive into the Callous Daoboys and see what's going on. So let's see what they're bringing to the table.
This may be the single most chilling message you will ever hear.
Alright, so a couple of bars of 3 to start the song, and now we're in 4. Okay. This is all over the place. The electric violin actually provides a really interesting timbre to go along with all of this.
The devil pushed you here to make me lose my faith!
Oh, man.
Pray for the disaster to incinerate. Walking off the edge just like you walked on stage. I dig up the bones you buried as you fell from grace.
That high-pitched squealing is an interesting one.
Precious divisive station.
Alright. Short but sweet. Hits on a lot of ideas that just kind of work well within going for this genre, right? So we've explored this the past couple of days, kind of going through what I've come to understand the genre to be. So it's hitting all of the notes. We have the abrasive sounds, we have the wild time signatures, we have composite time signatures, we have polymetric ideas. No, there's no polymetric ideas in here. This is all playing around with time signature, not necessarily playing around with the metric idea of the time signature. I would love to see the sheet music for this, because the time signature is honestly all over the place, and I can't imagine that any of these people have it memorized. It has to be just the muscle memory, knowing how the song goes and following along with that. Because there's one section that it was 4-4, then 3-4, then 4-4, then 5-8, and then back to the 3-4, and then a 5-4, and then a 5-8. And it is, yeah, it's very different, I think, than some of the other songs that we've checked out this week. They did have their moments where I felt that the time signature was moving a bit more chaotically, but I don't think there was a song that, at least to me, felt like the entirety of it existed with back to back, or sorry, moment to moment time signature changes that lacked a grander scope. It really did feel, especially around that 1 minute mark, that we were just going through a series of time signature changes and that there wasn't a pattern or a repetition to it. And that's just bonkers to have a linearity in time signature movement the way that this did. And like I said, some of the other bands explored that in sections, but this song really feels like it stuck around with that, and it kicked the song off with that. We had 2 bars of 3, immediately went into 4. We had maybe 4 bars of 4, and then we went into a composite 7, which was a 4 plus a 3. And then from there, it was just all over the place. Every time I felt like I had a grip of what was going on, they would change it up. And like I said, it got to a point where they were changing the time signature every bar without any sort of indication of what would come next. You just have to be along for the ride. I saw in the comments somebody likened it to being in a tornado, that there's not much you can do. You just have to accept what you're hearing and have the understanding that anything can come next. That at any moment you could see, a cow or a tractor or something fly by you, that any sound or transition could happen in the music. And it is spot on. That is exactly how I have felt listening to a lot of this music. There seems to be very little rhyme or reason to a lot of what's going on, other than to be disruptive. And if this is your first time on the channel, I've mentioned this all week, I don't mean disruptive in a negative manner. The purpose of this song is to, pull you out of your comfort zone. When you think you felt a groove, they say, no, you didn't. Here's something else. When you're starting to get used to a specific sound, they're like, oh, we're going to put screeches in here now, or we're going to go to a breakdown. We're going to go to some lower end stuff. You think we can only scream? We're going to put some spoken word in here. It's to disrupt your listening experience in a positive manner, to kind of have that uncertainty of what will happen next. And I think that's what, at least for me, I don't want to speak for other people, at least for me, that's what would keep me around listening to more mathcore. I don't know if the genre as a whole has any longevity for me outside of that novelty. I'm not a huge fan of the abrasiveness. The technical aspect is impressive to me, but casually, I'm not sure I'd be into it much. But just the that base idea of what's going to happen next, what are they going to change, how are they going to take this to a new direction, that is what I look forward to with the genre. That is that's the novelty that I really enjoy out of the style. And these guys bring it in spades. Like I mentioned, the time signature is just all over the place, but that isn't the only thing I think that kind of sets this song apart from the rest of the stuff we checked out this week. They have a violinist. And I never really thought about it, but a bowed violin, especially an E violin, which I think is what she was using, uh, yeah, it makes a timbre that you would not really have to alter too much. I'm sure there is some modifications to it, whether it goes through stomp pedals or an amplifier or whatever. There's probably some extra compression or effects being put on it. But honestly, it kind of has, or it can easily be created, that shrill sound that they want for those higher pitched screeching notes that juxtapose the lower, bassier, thonkier kind of stuff that they juxtapose the ideas with. There's a lot of that in this style of music of bouncing between low and high notes without any ramp up into them. You just kind of go from low to high to low to high, usually in very disjointed rhythmic ideas. And yeah, there was that one part where they were just accenting these higher screechy notes or some dissonance in there, just to compound with uh, the compression and the distortion, and the violin just works so well as a timbre against everything else that was going on. It really does fit so perfectly for this style of music. Well, I should say it can fit. You can also play the violin very beautifully, but I think that the violin has a specific timbre that, when utilized in a specific manner, without even using effects pedals, you can really, create the kind of tones, the abrasion that they're going for in this style of music. I also really enjoyed that middle section. Normally when we would have a breakdown, it's when everybody comes together and plays the same rhythmic idea to really bring about the weight and the heaviness of a section. And we kind of saw the inverse of that, but I think the effect was similar. Everybody cut out, and the vocalist did a solo bit, and it still, I think, was the most emotional, or I don't want to necessarily say heaviest, but it was definitely the most, I guess, heavy in a different way, right? It's not heavy in weight. It's not like a post-hardcore breakdown, right? Where everybody's coming together and just playing like don't. Like, we're not looking at that kind of breakdown where it's just this weight based on the timbre, but I do think it's the heaviest part of the song because it has so much emotional weight to it. And a lot of that just comes from this dude's raw, harsh vocal. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how much of that he's producing, how much is added effect with compression and stuff like that on the vocal track. But dude, it sounds raw. It sounds personal. There's just so much humanity in it. The crackles. It almost sounds like there's something bubbling underneath the tones, the pitches that he's hitting. And to allow that moment to be isolated with nothing else to block it, I think has a ton of impact. That actually might be the word I'm looking for. Not weight, but it's an impactful segment of the song. It still brings the impact that a traditional breakdown would, just in a different manner. And also juxtaposing that with the aggressive clean vocal that he also utilizes on the second time. He removes the vocal compression, uses his vocal cords, and actually says some stuff, and bouncing back and forth between those two. It is a good section there that I would just not expect from a mathcore band, especially not what we've seen through this week. There is a lack of noise. It's disruptive though, that's for sure. And then we do have those moments of what was it, like 3/8 notes at the end of each of these vocal solo sections that kind of accent and put a period or maybe a spacer between these different vocal lines. So we did have a bit of a disruptive element to it, but for the most part, it's just him screaming into the void. And man, if that's not a mood, right? Um, so I don't know that I have much else to add. For the most part, it does a lot of the stuff that I've talked over and over about this past week. And the two things that I think it does interestingly unique, which would be the violin usage and the over complicated time signature stuff. I've already touched on those. So this is going to be a bit of a shorter one, only at I guess 15 minutes here, but it's also only a 2-minute song. So yes, that's still, ratio of analysis to song is still pretty large. Thanks for bringing this to my attention, though. I love hearing, even like mathcore, the stuff we've checked out has really pushed the boundaries, I think, of listenability, palatability to music, of my own personal listenability to music. Mouthcore, like I mentioned, is not something I'm necessarily going to go out seeking in my personal casual listening, but I have found it interesting. But they found a way to push that even further. Their time signature shenanigans here are just blowing my mind. It's ridiculous. Anyways, those are my thoughts on the Callous Daoboys. I can't believe that's their name. That's so good. The Callous Daoboys, Fake Dinosaur Bones. This is where you guys come in. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you thought of this track. If you enjoyed it or not. Anything that stood out to you. Anything that I touched on that you want to extrapolate on. Just let me know. Hit me up in the comments. Above the comment section, there's a description box, and there's a link for Linktree. Take you to this joint right here. Y'all know the dig. It's got everything related to the channel in it. Discord, Patreon, Twitter. You can't see my hand. Discord, Patreon, Twitter. A bunch of stuff. Email, pick up merch, whatever. There's a lot of stuff in there. I lost track of my thing. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I'd greatly appreciate all three of those. We got a... Oh, this is Saturday. This is weird. Recording on a Saturday. There's going to be a live stream coming out later today. And it's January. It's the second live stream from January. So keep an eye out on that. Critics and above, we have a Patreon live stream on Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And everybody else, Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC, we'll be looking at the next week's theme, which is going to be hard rock. Pretty interested in that. Also, I found out hard rock is like this massive genre. Like, it covers 4 or 5 decades worth of rock. So I think mostly we're going to be getting some older stuff, but there's possible we might see a couple of newer bands in there as well. Anyways, until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.